Synopsis: celibacy is ideal, but is it possible to achieve? All the sense organs are allowed to satiate their desires freely, while ban is imposed on sex only. Strict rules make them more conscious. The result is not always happiness. The idea is to maintain balance in all sense organs that helps in even growth of all the senses. What is celibacy? It is necessary to know whether it is possible to achieve celibacy, which is complete abstinence from sexual and worldly pleasures, or whether anyone has ever achieved it. It is, of course, an ideal to observe it, but it is debatable whether it is possible to achieve it in practice. The mind flows through the medium of senses under all conditions. So how much it can be restricted from its normal course is a food for our thoughts. In fact, whatever the senses visualize in the moral course gets concentrated and established in mind. Those visual objects appearing and influencing the mind, deliver their entity, and procreation is responsible for it. An individual realizes every object from its beauty and grace, influenced by the free will of the sex impulse, and thus a conscious condition is created in every sense organ. The thought about the object flows rapidly in its natural course. Concentrating on the external objects, a state of restraint about the object is created for judging the truth behind it. A certain kind of raptness is working, fully explaining the sentiments of the conditions. This raptness is manifesting a kind of pleasant feeling in waves of the essence of each in the sense organs. Will force, copulation, or intercourse alone is explaining the beauty by revealing every condition in its full bloom. At every moment of these conditions, a vital fluid is discharged through the sense organs. We are inclined to ignore this inherent act of procreation as nothing vital. If we analyze it, we will find this loss going on through the sense organs is the same as that during intercourse. In every one of them, the result is involuntary discharge of a kind of seminal fluid. Sight, touch, smell, taste, and sound are all states of intimacy and belongingness. How will we restrain them with rules? How much can we control those which influence the inner self of our sense organs? It is easy to spell out a maxim, but how much will it be effective in practice? Authors of scriptures enjoin various maxims, but it is doubtful if these are at all practicable in life. A devotee is advised, for example, you practice yogic exercise like asana, pranayama, etc., and be cautious about the outside world. Keep thoughts away from women or men, as the case may be, and many such strict rules are imposed on them. But the problem is that the more one is forced to observe the rules, the greater is the curiosity about such matters. It reaches such a stage of concentration that suddenly an emotional outburst makes them use any medium to satiate their emotional feeling. The reason is that it awakens those instincts in them which should be refrained from. If the strictest measures are enforced, the person becomes conscious about it every moment, and it may reach such a stage when it is difficult to control such emotions. If such tiny spells of losses go on in the practice of celibacy, it is doubtful whether its utility will ever be achieved. It reaches such a stage when even the sight, touch, or thought of one's own self can excite one's emotions with a resultant loss. Even if one can achieve celibacy, by observing the rules rigorously, and thereby attain a vigorous and graceful appearance, which helps to acquire good memory and intellect, but one cannot be free from danger. A sense of acquired satisfaction, that one has been successful in the effort of controlling sexual pleasure totally, and reaching an elevated position makes one jubilant. This subtle credit about this achievement, consciousness about this graceful form, and control over sex, act like sex stimulation, and result in subtle seminal discharge again. Contentment, or delight in appreciation of a charming object too, is a form of intimacy and belongingness. The pleasure of continence may play within a person, but still when objects of enticement appear before them in the material world, their condition turns like that of an encaged tiger. There is much evidence that despite the restrictions imposed on them, subtle emotions play in them for a close embrace with the object in view. Whether one is in a forest, a flower garden, hills or mountains, celibacy is never spared from passion. Delightfully one says, "What a beautiful flower," or "What charming scenery," or "What a lovely taste." Little does one know that one has been a victim of subtle discharge of that vital fluid. If one wants to stop sexual intercourse, then one has to deny his or her very own existence. Unison occurs in all conditions, in every thought, in every condition. Every state of willpower is a state of unison or intercourse, resulting in subtle discharge. Everything should be maintained in a way by maintaining perfect balance. Breaking the limit results in failure to maintain the rhythmic balance. The rhythmic balance rests in 16 measures. If we stick to the 16 measures, then there is no danger of overstepping the balance. To maintain these 16 measures is the sign of celibacy. The problem of abstinence and celibacy will thus be solved. The reason is that all the feelings of the physical senses are akin to sense organs. It should be mentioned that some of the natural functions of the body do not properly develop for want of proportionate diet. For this, the food for each of the sense organs should be provided in equal measures, so that the intellect becomes sharp in every respect. This results in a kind of indifference, which is nothing but dullness. Maintenance of limit in everything is celibacy, deviation from it is a fallen condition. So, the rules should be modified accordingly, so that the incumbent develops evenly in every respect. A state of unison exists everywhere. Creation comes from this ego of belongingness, and the entity develops from there itself. The self is a condition of union. If the creation is to be accepted, then all the things associated with it should be accepted. Rules of celibacy should therefore be framed accordingly.